What is going on, guys? It's your boy Jay, and today I'm going to be hitting y'all with some of my predictions for Pokemon Legends Arceus. Now, these range from mechanics to content like DLC, new forms, playstyles, etc., and the possibility of Pokemon Legends becoming a new mainstay series for the franchise as a whole. So, before we get into it, if you enjoy anything you see in this video, please kindly slap that like button and subscribe if you want to see more videos like this, as it'll give me more incentive to create more videos like this. With that out of the way, let's dive on into the list, shall we? Starting at number 5, new forms and Pokemon. So there's a lot of speculation going around online right now that we may see some new, more primitive forms of Pokemon, such as Voltorbs that look like the ancient Pokeballs, a more organic looking Magnemite, feudal looking final evolutions for the starters, etc, etc. Now, I personally don't think we'll get any new forms like this because it simply doesn't make sense canonically. And I know what you're thinking, Pokemon isn't the most canonical series to begin with them literally contradicting their lore from time to time between games and generations. But let's take Voltorb for an example. In its Crystal Pokédex entry, it states, during the study of this Pokemon, it was discovered that its components are not found in nature. And in its Omega Ruby entry, it says, Voltorb was first sighted at a company that manufactures Pokeballs. The link between that sighting and the fact that this Pokemon looks very similar to a Pokeball remains a mystery. Now, right there, we have two pieces of lore that explicitly says Voltorb didn't exist until the factory manufacturing of Pokeballs, and that its components are not found in nature. And I'm sure there would be many other plot holes like this for other Pokemon speculated to have new ancient or primitive forms for Legends Arceus. Now, what I do think is a strong possibility for Pokemon Legends are some new mythicals and or legendaries. Now, I'm sure everyone has seen this leaked image of the mystery Pokemon, and in my opinion, there's only two likely possibilities of its identity. Either it's a pre-existing Mon that's in the middle of an animation / disguised similar to the Ghost of Lavender Tower, or it's a new legendary Mon. And the only arguments I really have for it being a new legendary are: 1, it doesn't look like any pre-existing Mon. 2, the game is called Legends, so maybe, possibly, hopefully, that alludes to new legendaries being in them. And 3, Pokemon Go has already set a precedence that would allow them to release new legendaries in spin-off games with Meltan and Meltan. So yeah, simply put, my first prediction is I don't think there's going to be any new forms of Pokemon Legends Arceus, but I do think there's a possibility that we could get some new legendaries for the game. Now, moving on to my fourth prediction, we're going to be looking at competitive. Now, I slightly touched on this in my trailer analysis for Legends Arceus, so just to quickly rehash, I think that the main official competitive scene for Pokemon will be shifted over to Legends until Gen 9 games are released. And there's a few reasons I think this will be the case. Firstly, the VGC Players Cup 4 just wrapped up at the time of writing this in Sword and Shield, and I don't believe we'll be getting any new competitive formats for the year because next month we're going back to Series 7 rule set, and I think it's highly unlikely we'll get a Series 9 format that allows 2 restricted Mons because of Dynamax plus 1 restricted Mon already being so powerful. Now, this gives Pokemon the perfect window of time to set up regionals and possibly championships for the Players Cup 4, all before the release of Legends Arceus. Secondly, the battle UI for Legends Arceus looks a lot like a natural progression of how UI should evolve for Pokemon as a whole. But specifically, if you look at the Sword and Shield battle UI in comparison to Legends UI, the Legends UI looks like a more polished version made for a more modern era of Pokemon. And that's exactly what I think Legends really is. One big concept piece for how Game Freak wants to handle their mainline games going forward, and a large part of their mainline series is competitive, so what better place to test out the new competitive scene on a new engine and game than with Arceus Legends. And thirdly, realistically speaking, the competitive scene can't survive in Sword and Shield until Gen 9 games, especially because I don't believe we'll be getting Gen 9 games until at least 2023. So clearly, something has to take over for the competitive scene for 2022, going into November 2023, which is when I predict we'd get Gen 9 games, and Legends Arceus fits nicely into that time period. And that is basically my long short of why I predict Legends Arceus will take over for the competitive scene up until Gen 9 games are released, which, low-key prediction, I expect to come out somewhere around November 2023, but that's a different video for a different time. Now, getting on into my third prediction, we're going to be looking at DLC. Now, this one is pretty straightforward, and out of all the predictions, probably the most likely to become true. So I feel like it's less of a question about whether there will be DLC, and more so one about what will the DLC or DLCs be centered around. Firstly, I think there'll be at least 2 DLCs for Legends Arceus, one released sometime around summertime, with the second being released around Christmas, cause you know, money! Now my first prediction of possible DLC for Legends Arceus would be one that's centered around Darkrai. Now this makes the most sense to me because typically Darkrai is used as a notorious BBEG, that's Big Bad Evil Guy for anybody who is not up to date with your tabletop RPG lingo, within the anime, movies, and games. It also makes sense to have a DLC centered around Darkrai, as it is one of the only Sinnoh/Gen 4 Mythicals besides Arceus. No, I didn't forget about Shaman, I didn't forget about Fion, I didn't forget about Manaphy, but TLDR, nobody cares about Shaman, Manaphy, or Fion because they're utterly useless. Hashtag sorry not sorry. That, in my opinion, warrants its own subplot within a DLC. The second possible Pokemon featured in a DLC pack would obviously be Giratina. Now I will admit Giratina's appearance as DLC is iffy given that the Diamond and Pearl remix are coming out, and I'm pretty sure that there will be some kind of Giratina tie-in or event or something like that in those games. But I really do think there's still a strong case to be made for Giratina being the focal point of a DLC for Legends Arceus, simply because it's like the yin to Arceus' yang. You can't have one without the other, right? It would also be just a pretty cool way of having the entire creation trio, I guess quartet in this case, I'm not sure how you would look at this, but it would be pretty cool to have all 4 of, you know, the Sinnoh legendaries show up in games and have some type of, you know, impact on the story. Also, TLDR, I just couldn't pass up the opportunity to create this dope ass Mock Giratina DLC promo ad. Like, come on now. Come on, you got the chance to make a fake ad for Giratina, you can't pass that up, right? But yeah, simply put, I predict that we're gonna get DLC for Legends Arceus. I don't even think that's like up for debate. I'm pretty sure that every game nowadays has DLC, right? So DLC is definitely going to be in the games, but to go one step further, I predict that that DLC is either going to be Darkrai related and or Giratina related. Now, on to my number 2 prediction, starters from other regions. Now, if you checked out my trailer analysis for Legends Arceus, this prediction might sound familiar, but yes, I believe we'll be able to catch or obtain starters from other regions at some point throughout the game, and my main basis for this prediction is pretty simple. Pokemon love their starters, especially the Gen 1 starters. Now, I may be wrong because I'm honestly too lazy to look it up at the moment, but I don't think there's been a game where the Kanto starters weren't available to the player at some point. Now with Legends Arceus, they're playing with the concept of time, not to mention the Sinnoh region in general already has a lot to do with time and space given their legendary trio, and I think this gives the devs a really good chance to play with the possibility of time warps or temporal rifts that bring certain Pokemon from other times and space into the past, allowing us to catch them. Now this mechanic could have some kind of limitation, such as being date and time specific. Maybe it limits our amount of Pokeballs or Pokemon that we can use. Maybe the starters or the Pokemon that we get from this temporal rifts could be encountered as final bosses, or the last encounters in dungeons or raids of some sort, etc, etc. You get the drift, right? And even if the whole temporal rift thing doesn't come true, the second way to bring other region starters into the game is simply with post-game events. After beating the main story, the professor or whomever will be running the show in this game can tell you they've recently done some more traveling and have another set of starters for you to choose from. Or after the main story, the professor can tell you how they've noticed some new Pokemon entering the locale following the recent influx of humans to the region. And finally, even if all of those plot devices don't hold up and, you know, it doesn't make sense to put those in the game, going back to prediction 3, DLCs will most definitely introduce new Pokemon to the game, and among them will most likely be some of the starters. So all in all, besides my DLC prediction, I think that this prediction is probably the second most likely to come true, simply because, like I said, Pokemon love their starters, especially Kanto starters, and I'm very certain that they will find a way to get us Kanto starters in Legends Arceus. Now, onto my number 1 prediction, Pokemon Legends as a new mainstay series for the franchise. Now, I'm a firm believer that going forward, we will see other Pokemon Legends titles with other mythicals, or even the third version of a legendary trio as the focus or mascot of the game. For example, there could be a Pokemon Legends Zygarde where we play during the Great War from X and Y. The game could have us meet AZ after his Floette has died in the war. We could be misguided into helping him build the ultimate weapon, and then when we realize what we've done and how we've helped him, you know, take all these lives of Pokemon for his weapon, we could call upon the power of Zygarde or summon Zygarde, you know, collect Zygarde cells to help, you know, right or wrong and bring actual peace to ancient Kalos. Now, not only does this sound like a pretty dope Pokemon game, in my opinion, of course, I think Legends as a mainstay series is also highly likely because it gives Pokemon and Game Freak the chance to set up more concrete canonical lore as well as better world building for the franchise. I believe Legends becoming a mainstay series is highly likely because it gives Game Freak and TPC the chance to finally build stories and games with Mythicals as the spotlight Pokemon. Now, throughout the entirety of mainline Pokemon games, most Mythicals play little to no role in the story, and if we are able to obtain them, they're usually given out as mystery gifts and again have no effect on the actual story. But with a continuous Legends series, we can learn firsthand about things like the Kalos War, the creation of Magearna, Mew and how it's connected to the evolution of other Pokemon, etc, etc. Legends could also function as a more mature format of the Pokemon games. It could handle more adult themes like death and war. It could be more challenging, and it could give older fans what we've always been asking for, a more in-depth Pokemon game with more substance and, you know, more lore and just, you know, what we want as grown adults playing Pokemon. Pokemon Legends could be that for us, right? But honestly, what I think is the biggest factor of whether we'll get more Pokemon Legends game is obviously every company's favorite thing: money. Now, if Legends Arceus does well, which I think it will be one of their highest selling games, we will most definitely get more of them. I can definitely see a model where we get a Legends game 1 year, have a year of DLCs, then a new generation with a year of DLCs, then a remake developed by a third-party developer, which gives Game Freak the chance to work on the next Legends game, and rinse and repeat. And that could be the new possible cycle for Pokemon games. Legends, new generation, remake by third party, Legends, new generation, boom, 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 boom. Y'all get the drift, right? But yeah, that about does it for this video. So definitely be sure to let me know down in the comments what you think of my predictions. Do you think Pokemon Legends is here to stay as a mainstay series? Do you think it's a one-off cash grab like Pokemon Let's Go Eevee? Drop some of your own predictions down below if you got them. But yeah, I'm gonna wrap it up here, so y'all know what it is. If you enjoyed the video, please drop a like and subscribe if you would like to see more content like this, and I will catch you guys next time. Peace.